Good morning, YouTubers. T-Square here with T-Square Talk. Hope everybody's having a great day. It is Monday morning. I got a special video, actually. This is a subscriber request, and ironically, it couldn't have happened probably at a better time because an article just came out about it, and it kinda, I hate to say it, does all the work for me. And I don't feel really bad sharing this only because so many other channels have been talking about that, especially in the silver stacking community. Someone sent me a link to one person's video that discussed it, and today we're going to be discussing why silver shorts, what's the purpose of it, why manipulation, is there a reason? What do they have to gain? That type of stuff. Now, this has been covered by a lot of different channels recently, including Silver Dragons, Arcadian Economics, and a few other big channels. And so I figured I'm going to talk about it too, only because one subscriber specifically asked me. And like I said, the article came out for me and did all the work, has all the charts, has great explanations of what's going on. I will put the link to this article in the description below so you have the opportunity to kind of read the whole article in detail. It talks everything about spoofing. It explains why. It breaks down cases. It does a really good job, this article, and so I think it's a great topic for today, I guess you can say. Before we get started, I would like to take a quick minute to thank the members of the channel. If you are a member of the channel, I can't thank you enough. If you'd like to become a member of the channel, it is only $1.99 to become a member. I don't do any kind of advertising and stuff, so that's pretty much the only way we really, I guess, make anything. But it also comes with some cool perks. Becoming a member, your comments get sent right to my phone. Plus, every month we do some sort of a special event. It's only $1.99 to become a member, and it's pretty cool. With that being said, you can do your part if you want just by hitting that thumbs up button as a thank you. Leave me a comment. Let me know your thoughts, even if it's just good morning, and hit that subscribe button if you're not subscribed. So with that being said, let's jump right in. Now, the first thing I always like to look at is what is going on with the silver price. Silver price sitting right now at $32.33 in overnight tradings. By the time you guys are watching this, we're just hours away from the markets opening up. And hopefully we'll see some sort of a beatdown. I don't mind saying that because I do want to see a beatdown this week because I do want to put another order in. And with the Fed meeting this week, hoping that I'm going to see the dollar strengthen a little bit, even if it is on the DXY index and the manipulation, I guess you can say, of the dollar, making it look good, even though it is sinking. I hate to say that, especially being an American. And, you know, so cheaper silver, it gives me more opportunity. Gold, we got gold right now up a little bit also, trading at 32.61. Not up horribly, but it is inching higher. Would I like to see that go down? Of course. I mean, whatever I'm putting my money on, I'd like to buy it at a discount. But at the end of the day, does it really matter? Probably not when you realize how manipulated the system is, which kind of touches base on what we're going to talk about today. Bitcoin, as of right now, trading at 96,363, down about 568 points. DXY, oh, I was going to say just over 100, but actually it just fell down under a little bit, down at 99.73, but not really that much. So with that being said, let's jump right in and get talking about this. So the question that I had was that someone had given me was basically, what is the point of manipulation? Who gains from it, and what is the purpose? And this is a great article. Now, I'm not going to read the article verbatim. I know some channels might. I think you'll be able to get the gist out of it with a few paragraphs here and there. Simply put, the goal of silver manipulation is to keep silver's price artificially low, as well as prevent it from breaking out key technical support levels. Obviously, when you have silver price breakout or gold price breakout, what happens is more and more people recognize it as a good investment, and then they start putting money into it. And we've been seeing that with gold. Obviously, once gold overtook the $2,000 level, and then 21, 22, 23, 3,000, 3,001, 3,002, 3,500. Once the price broke out, more and more people start piling behind it, and you really have a huge breakout in the price. Now, this scares a lot of people for multiple reasons. We'll talk about that here in just a minute. But overall, they don't want to see the price breakout. Obviously, big banks like JP Morgan, Chase, UBS, HSBC, Goldman Sachs, and several others have been found guilty of manipulation in the past. And really, they do that with short positions. They take on huge short positions betting against the silver price. If enough people are betting against the silver price, or they're borrowing ounces and then selling it back on the market, naturally what that does is it pushes it down. Let's be honest. Take for a minute, you're sitting on, I don't know, I'm going to use 1 million ounces just for the heck of it. Someone asked me what a lot of silver is. I don't know. Everybody got their own answer for that. But let's say you're sitting on 1 million ounces of silver. You have no intention on selling it. However, another company says, one of these big companies, hey, we'd like to borrow your 1 million ounces, and essentially we'll give you whatever the agreed upon term is. And they borrow it, and then they instantly flood it on the market. What does that do? That pushes the price down. But they now owe that at them ounces. And now if the price stays down, hey, that's great. If the price stays down, it's great for them because then they can pay back. They can buy the ounces back at a cheaper price. But if the price gets beat down and then breaks out again, they didn't really accomplish that much. It really does discourage people from buying when you're seeing something come down. I'll be honest, there's a lot of people discouraged because silver went down $2.50. Gold went down $280, and people are discouraged about that. For me, my standpoint, it's a buying opportunity. If they want to give it away as cheap, I hope they can beat it down to $5. Now, I know someone said, that's bad, that you would wish for them to be more corrupt. You know what? At the end of the day, they're doing their thing, and all we're doing is we're reaping the rewards from it. I'll be honest. I would not have the stack that I have today if it wasn't for the manipulation. And what I mean by that is, let's say for a minute silver was its true value. And for true value, let's just say $200 for a quick minute. I mean, technically, I feel the true value of silver should be 1/15 of the price of gold. And, you got gold now at, $32.50, we'll say. Clear, $32.50 divided by, let's say, 15. I mean, that's $216. Silver should be that, in my opinion, but it's not. Why? Because of the manipulation. Now, a lot of people come up with different answers. I've heard people say as much as it should be 25-1. I've even heard people say it should be 1-1. I think there are some outliers. Obviously, a 1-1 gold-silver ratio, I would say, is probably extreme. Yes, I understand we are losing a lot of our silver in industrial demand, and usually it's so cheap it doesn't get recycled. It just gets thrown in landfills. However, the gold just gets saved. And, it might move from one bank to another bank, but it's getting bought up. The more that happens, it does make it to where there's less above silver and more above gold. But it does come out of the ground at about a 12-1, 15-1 ratio. So a lot of that will depend on, where you get your source from, whether you get it from the geology surveys or whether you get it from the mining data or whether you get it from, there's so many different places that you can get that information from. When you take a look through this article, there's a few key things that they really talk about. How long the manipulation has been. Just over the past year, numerous attempts to close above 32-33 resistance zone have been met with violent slam downs. How many of you remember when we got up to like $35 and all of a sudden we just had a beat down to 29, 28? I mean, it happens so fast. When you have a straight line coming down, that's not normal. I'll be honest, if you have a straight line going up, that's not normal. This is a great chart right here. I really like looking at this one because, when you see this kind of flow, they're small lines. These are, just light moves. It's trickling up. Now, right here, you probably had a couple of big investors that shot it up a nice tick. And, some people started selling because obviously someone big came in with money and it inched down. Then it started inching back up again. And then all of a sudden you had another big investment. Now, as this continued, right here, all of a sudden, big banks are like, dude, we got to put a handle on this. This is getting out of hand. Let's crush it. And all of a sudden, you have a couple days of just drastic, violent drops. And, there are a lot of key resistance numbers that people look at. They don't want silver being over that because if it draws too much attention, that's it. And once it breaks through, a lot of people don't understand, once it breaks through 50, it's kind of going to be like gold breaking through 2100. Once it broke through 21, it just started going up. Now, what we're seeing is an acceleration of gold going up until the recent, maybe the last couple weeks where we've seen it actually stall out. And some people are saying it stalled out until the end of summer. Sell in May and go away. A lot of times people go on summer vacations. I actually had a couple people leave me comments. That's why they think the views have dropped on the channel in the last week is because, a lot of people are going on summer break. I know my son is going on summer vacation, and a lot of people are just going to be traveling. They're not really going to be messing around a lot with the stock market, with, commodities and this and that. Now, what I want you to look at specifically is the enormous paper selling right here. I mean, look at your normal as you come through here, average, mediocre volume. Volume's the amount that's being traded. And then all of a sudden, huge amounts come onto the market and just sell off in a huge sell-off all at once. That is not normal. Everybody doesn't all of a sudden just, hey, let's all organize our sells or our buys at the exact same time. It doesn't happen like that. It happens throughout the day, essentially. You may not order the same time as me. I may not order the same time as you. What happens, though, that a lot of people have been noticing, including in this article, is you're seeing, usually at the same time each day, early in the morning, all of a sudden markets open and boom, it starts selling off. Why is it ticking up higher in the overnight session, and then in the day session for the United States we're seeing the beatdown happen? And it happens regularly. And once you realize that, then you realize, man, there's something going on. Here's a great example. The markets all of a sudden just plunge straight down. And of course, there's a lot of people that are looking at this as a deal. This could be me even. I'm looking at for the deals. It hits here and all of a sudden I want to buy. But I'll be honest. Anytime you see this big of a drop, we were here. Look, we ended up right back there. And here's the thing. A lot of people don't understand. $35 silver, I'm convinced we will be back there not too far down the line. We've been seeing this more and more. A lot of people don't understand, some people even say there is no manipulation, which blows my mind because I could literally cite 20 cases right now where there has been huge amounts of manipulation, found guilty, or in not all cases does someone go to jail. That doesn't define, a guilty verdict. But in a lot of cases, either they are guilty and someone goes to jail, or they're guilty and they pay a fine, or they decide, we'll plead not guilty, we'll pay a huge fine, but we're free and clear. We're not guilty of anything. We're just settling the fine. And then they want to make arguments. Well, we only settled and offered to pay the fine because we didn't want to pay the lawyer fees. And maybe that's true to a certain point. There's no doubt that there's a lot of guilt. I told a story not too long ago about manipulation and also even disposal of hazardous waste. There was a company a while back, like probably 5-10 years ago, that was dumping hazardous waste into the ocean. And, some people are like, how did they get away with that? Oh, they didn't get away with it. They had to pay a fine. They paid like $100,000 fine or something, $250,000 fine every time they get caught. But here's the thing. The amount of money that you make If it outweighs the fine, does it matter? Now, for some of us, our integrity means more than money. But for some people, money is the bottom line. And I mean, we'll use another analogy. If you know you can go and you can steal from your local store and get away with it, okay, you keep stealing, let's say, hypothetically. Well, even if you get caught, let's say they, bring you to jail, they, charge you a $500 fine or a $1,000 fine. If every day you're stealing $1,000 worth of stuff, does that $1,000 fine really make a difference? It's a slap on the hand for the amount of money. And here's the thing. These companies, JP Morgan has been fined $990 million in just one case. One case. Can you imagine the amount of money that they're making off of the manipulation? And a lot of people want to ask why. Well, the big answer obviously is, let's see if we can find the exact write-up, and I'll read it verbatim. But in short, they don't want the dollar looking weak. If gold and silver goes up, that's a sign that the currency in your country is weak. Now, we've seen that happen in almost every country in the world. We've seen gold going up. But we didn't see it here in the United States at first. It actually took a little longer for the United States essentially to see gold really break out. But a lot of people that follow the charts, including myself, we said, hey, if it's already breaking out in all these different countries, it's only a matter of time before it breaks out here in the United States. So we want to get ahead of it when it starts breaking out. Now, right now, like I said, they're beating it down right now. But some people are saying they're not beating it down. It's just because of the summer, and that's a possibility. But either way, they don't want to see it go up. And if it does go up, they will beat it down. And you can see the huge amounts of paper that's hitting it. Now, what is paper? Paper is essentially short. You can call it shorting. But needless to say, swap dealers, mostly bullion banks, desks, hold massive net short positions, equivalent to 211 million ounces of silver. So think of that. What do you think would happen if you put 211 million whatever on the market all at once? And yes, it didn't hit all at once. I probably shouldn't use the word all at once, but they keep doubling down and putting more and more out there. There's no way they can deliver on 211 million ounces of silver. But they understand right here, and I don't know the exact math on how much they lose, but for every dollar increase in the price of silver, swap dealers face $211 million in losses. And the way they factor that is each short contract is usually 5,000 ounces. So 5,000 ounces of silver. You think about the amount of short contracts that are out there, and then you do the math, that brings you up to 211 million ounces. Now, just a dollar move on that is $211 million loss. So they need to keep the price down. And that's why when it starts breaking out, you see these red bars, you see the volume hitting, huge amounts of volume. Then it starts going up again, you see the volume hitting to beat it down. It starts going up again, you see the volume. Now over here, it really started breaking out. And you can see how it started climbing all the way from 23, 25, 27, 29, 31, 33, and look at the amount of volume that they're putting down. Huge amounts of shorts. They're doing everything. If it wasn't for this right here, who knows what the price of silver would be. So once you start realizing that, people start asking, well, how many paper ounces are there versus actual ounces? And this is a chart. This is all paper ounces. This graph right here says 378 to 1. If you come over here to the U.S. debt clock, right now, paper to silver is actually 375 to 1. So it's not quite as bad as it was when that article was written, but this U.S. debt clock shows it. And, they've been asked before, well, what happens if people realize that there's too much paper silver out there? We can't deliver on all this. Nobody can. Well, they simply said, what do you think? Price solves everything. And, it sounds bad. And at first I laughed when I'd heard that. But, the price does solve everything. How many of you would sell your silver tomorrow for $40? Maybe you listening to this wouldn't, because maybe you're as hardcore as me. How many of you would sell some silver at 50? I will be honest with you. At $50 an ounce, I would be tempted to get rid of a little bit to maybe get a new vehicle. Maybe get something that I've wanted for a while. I don't splurge. I live a very thrifty lifestyle. I save my money. I believe in saving. And that way you have when times get hard. And when times get hard and you have a savings account, you have something, a nest egg, everybody else is going to be hurting because times are hard. They're going to be giving away assets. What do I mean by that? Families that got boats might be selling them. Families that have jet skis or water toys, they might be selling them. Maybe people that have a duplex or a nice big house might want to downsize to something smaller. I mean, how many families have multi-cars, 2 or 3 cars extra? They have, each person has their own vehicle. They don't need it, but you know what? What the heck? Money's cheap right now. Why? Because credit is cheap. And they can't raise interest rates. And the reason they can't raise interest rates is because the U.S. is too far in debt. The government couldn't pay the debt that they owe if they raise interest rates. So they have to keep interest rates low. That's why they're trying to push to get rates cut. Obviously, Powell understands we can't afford to cut interest rates. I mean, people don't want to buy debt or take on your debt by giving you loans if they ain't going to get any good interest on it. I mean, who here wants to borrow at 0%? I'll be honest, I borrowed a bunch of money not too long ago at 0%. They gave me my money 0% for a year to promote me to wastefully spend and essentially pump up the economy. Now, do I wastefully spend? No. But I'm not ashamed to borrow at 0 and invest it. And I know some people say, that's horrible. You shouldn't borrow money to invest it. It's bad. It's this, that. You know what? I've done it so many times, and it has always paid off for me. So I don't worry about it. I'm getting to buy the items that I want today at today's prices. I'm getting them today, but I don't have to pay for them until tomorrow or down the line when money is even cheaper. Why is money going to be cheaper? Because they're printing more of it. Everything is going up in price. I mean, even your retirement's probably going up. Cost of living on your Social Security, it doesn't matter what it is. You're getting more money tomorrow than you're getting today. I was actually listening to something the other day, and the guy said, I have a really nice 401k. I'm so happy. I got all this money. And the guy's like, oh, I'm sorry for you. He's like, what do you mean you're sorry for me? He goes, think about it. By the time you take that money out, do you think you'll be paying more on taxes tomorrow or more on taxes today? And the guy's like, I guess tomorrow everything's going to be more. And he goes, okay. So it's like a Ponzi. They keep you locked in for what, 30, 40 years? People don't realize what's going on. And it's kind of sad, at least with gold and silver. Yeah, you do pay a tax on your profits, but you don't have to sell it. It's gold, it's silver. You can break it down. There's a lot of advantages in gold and silver that a lot of people do like. And the fact that it does keep up with inflation. What happens when the stock market tanks? Let's be honest. Stock market's overvalued right now. They're not going to tell you that. Why? They don't want to tell you that, because if they tell you that, you'll start panicking. They want you in the system as long as they can. I've used the analogy about the Amish and how they move a house. They all get on the house at one time and they lift it. A barn, whatever the case may be, they put pegs all around it, and people get all the way around it and they literally lift and they start walking with it. It's insane to see. If everybody starts all of a sudden stepping away, hey, I got to go use the bathroom. Hey, I got to get a drink of water. Hey, I got to go, do whatever. Then all of a sudden the weight gets heavier on the people that are there. And that's kind of how the U.S. dollar is right now. It's getting heavier and heavier on people. And once they realize that, then essentially that's it. You know, they start to let go too. They start losing confidence in what's going on. And anybody that thinks that, oh, the money's not getting devalued, take a look. This is a money chart of how much money has been created from 1920 to 2025. You know, enormous amounts. Money supply has gone up by 85,492%. The purchasing power of your dollar since 1960, you can see the purchasing power is going down. You know, and it's going to continue to go down. Once you realize that, that's it. You know, yeah, we had it. Someone might ask, well, what's this right here? Obviously, this was when silver had spiked in 1980. People didn't have a whole lot of purchasing power on their dollar because prices had spiked during inflation. And then, you know, it started getting better. And then it happened again in basically 2020 timeframe. And, you know, here we are today. Now, when you look at essentially what silver was worth before to what it's worth now, I mean, people think, oh, the most silver has ever been is $50. Once you realize, you know, yeah, the most silver has ever been was $50. You look back in 1980. I mean, think about that for a minute. What else? What in 1980? What's cheaper today? What's almost half the price today than it was in 1980? Nothing. Everything is more expensive. Why ain't silver? Because they can't afford to have it go up because they keep adding to the short positions. And a lot of people always say, how is this going to end? How is this silver shorting going to end? Ultimately, I'm convinced that they will sell the short positions to one entity, and one entity will take the fall. Who will that be? Who knows? Some people say it might be BlackRock. Some people say it might be JP Morgan. Some people say it might be US. Who knows? It could be anybody. All that someone has to do is make a deal. And, you know, let's say I'm the CEO of, I don't know, XYZ. And I say, look, I'll have the company take on the short position and we'll bankrupt it. But I want a golden parachute. I want to make sure that I am taken care of, my family's taken care of, maybe a little something extra for my high-up execs. As for everybody else, oh well. That's how I think it's going to end. I don't think it's going to end with a government bailing out some short position. I don't think it's going to end positively. And when it does end, it is going to have the price of silver soar unlike we've ever seen. And I don't think silver, if silver should be $150, I don't think the price of silver is just going to go to $150. It's going to go a whole lot higher. The momentum, the energy behind it, the negativity, the hostility that will be there, everybody's going to want to flood in to an investment that they know is going to go higher. And it's going to overshoot. It's going to way overshoot what it should be. And then you're going to have essentially what happened in 1980 or even 2011. You're going to have the asset shoot up way beyond what it should be. And then all of a sudden it's going to plunge because the smart money is going to realize, hey, this is way overvalued now. And then when it plunges, you're going to have a lot of people that said, I bought silver when it was 300. I'll never make my money back. What's it sitting at now? 200? It ain't never going back to 300. It's probably going to go back down to $50. That's the kind of stories you're going to hear. Why? Because we hear them today. And history does always seem to repeat itself. And so I hope this kind of gave people a good understanding. I don't know if I answered 100% the why. It's not just obviously they want to keep it so you have strength in the dollar, but they also want to do it so they can acquire it. JP Morgan is sitting on one of the largest stockpiles of physical silver. There is a reason why they're sitting on that. They are sitting on that because they know when it breaks out, physical silver is going to go wild. And they essentially want to make their money. So they'll be all set. Now, with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I will put the link below. That way you guys can read this story. A special thank you to this company for Mining Feeds for actually making this story. I think they did a great job with this story, and that's why I'm going to put the link below. I didn't have to do any work. I just had to kind of regurgitate or summarize everything for y'all. With that being said, if you enjoyed today's video, please take a quick minute, hit that thumbs up button, help me out, leave me a comment, let me know your thoughts, and hopefully this answered your question of essentially what is silver shorting, why does it happen. Anytime you short something, you're borrowing it, you're selling it onto the market, and you're betting that I'll be able to buy it back later and give it back to you at a cheaper price. The problem is when the price goes up, we get burned. And a lot of people don't understand when you short something, there is no limit to how much money you can lose. That's why some people say it's a dangerous game. I mean, if you short something like GameStop when it was $4 and then all of a sudden it ran up to $350, I mean, think about that. That means every share of GameStop, somebody lost $345 and somebody made $345. So it can be devastating. With that being said, thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys again next time on T-Square Talk. And darn it, I didn't want it to be 30 minutes, but it was. I'll talk to y'all later. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.